Good morning and salutations, everybody. Today we have our first lab in this particular unit. So as we're getting more familiar with these labs, I'm going to start with drawing a little bit of support on it, and you guys are going to take over planning in your groups. So you've been doing a pretty good job with that so far. So let's take a look at what we have here. So the warm-up today is going to be planning time for you. So I'm going to give you some time with your group and really with the rest of the class, if need be, for you to plan. So flip over to your warm-up. That's what you've got today. It's just group planning time. Then we're going to go over to the actual lab. So if we go on to the activity again, here's the lab. But remember, this is just a printout of the lab. You can't actually write on here. So to go into actually find the lab, we go into assignments, and you'll find the editable copy over here. Now, this particular one, I have uploaded the actual document here for you. So what that means is you don't have to open up a blank. You don't have to open up a blank spreadsheet and a blank Word document. So you can read through here, and then we can do what we were doing before, where you can highlight and then just delete my wording here, and then you can insert your own stuff. So the purpose of this lab. So Unit 2, chemical quantities, is to me the foundational unit of chemistry. So like I told you last class, when it comes to actual chemistry knowledge, this is the most important part of the course. So this information is what every lab, what every chemistry experiment, what every discussion of chemistry revolves around. So anytime we talk about anything in chemistry, we have to be able to talk about the amount of each substance that we have. So we need to know how chemists go about that. How can you possibly count something that you can't see? So that's what this unit is about. So during this unit, we'll learn about the law that allows scientists to count atoms. So despite them being far too small to actually see. So without this ability, we wouldn't have chemistry. So the seminal law wouldn't exist without the careful laboratory techniques and abilities to recognize patterns in those carefully conducted experiments. So as such, the purpose of this lab is to practice those two things. So we're going to practice careful laboratory techniques in manipulating chemical substances, practice exact measurement taking, and practice pattern recognition. Okay, so notice here that I haven't given you the question. There's not a whole lot in here for you to come up with the experimental question that this particular lab is designed for. So in order to come up with this question, I want you to read through the whole lab here. Take a look at the materials that we have. Right, and then take a look at the procedures that I have given you here. So in this case, I've given you the procedures. So read through down here, data analysis, that stuff. But on top of this, what I want you guys to do is go back to our lab sheet that we started. So remember, this Stanislav stories, in this case, in this unit, London Grammar, is the overarching story. It's at the end of unit assessment. So I write these to include an evaluation of all of the content that we're going to be talking about in this unit. So when it comes to this lab that we're doing today, you can go back to the purpose here and see what the purpose of this particular unit is. What am I talking about? So I'm doing this for reading comprehension purposes largely, right? So literacy purposes, we're recognizing and making connections between different things here. So read through the purpose, the materials, the procedures here. You go back and you can read through here and try to match stuff up, make connections between these two. So then think about what I designed this lab to study, right? And then you can go about making your hypothesis. So again, I need to check the question. Before you do a hypothesis, let me check the question off. Then before you do the lab, I need to check the hypothesis. But beyond that, again, so at this point, I've given you the procedures and stuff, so you can just get into the lab. Now, what you're going to do is this is going to be, because we're taking careful measurements, we need to repeat this lab multiple times. So remember, we never draw conclusions in science based on the results of a single lab. We have to repeat over and over again. All right, so when we go back over here, close this out, you have your data workbook. So this is just a blank data workbook that I just uploaded here for you so that you can start writing on it. So there's nothing in here yet. But remember, when we do our data workbooks, when we start to put our data down, the first column is always trial numbers. So it's a description of what it is we're doing. So here, my goal is to have 4 or 5 trials of this, but we're probably not going to get that done. So what we're going to do is we're going to do at least 2 trials, and then what we can do as a class is we can combine the class data to come up with the additional trials here. So there will be a handful of trials down here, but most likely it will be a little bit from each group, right? And then remember, the first row is always headings. So you want to log down in each column what measurement you're taking and what units those measurements are going to be in. So for example, if you're getting the mass of something, this would be mass, and then in chemistry now everything is going to be in grams. So you'd say mass in grams, and then over here mass of something else in grams, so on and so on. So every time you take a measurement, it needs to have its own column in the workbook, and it needs to have a heading that says what we're measuring in this column and what unit of measurement that we have. Right. And then we can do the mathematical analysis. So if we need to do any math and stuff, we can do another sheet down here, or you can put it over here just next to it, which really is a good way to go about it. But again, when we do the math, you need in the first row there to have the name of the math concept that we've got. So for example, density is a math calculation. So we're not going to do that in this lab, but you would have your math equation there. So it's a density, and then you actually write down your equation. So we always want to write down equals whatever it is, so we have it there to look at. Okay, and then so that's the lab that we're going to be working on today. It's the first of our groupings of labs here. And then finally, exit ticket, we're just going to clean up. So make sure everything is cleaned. Where'd my exit ticket go? I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, there it is. So we just want to make sure to clean up there. So that's what we got going on today.